Okay. Are you guys ready to watch the second part of this? Final Fantasy, is this a part 2? Final Fantasy documentary. All right, let me set it up. Oh, it's gonna be so good, baby. Here, let me try and switch over the screen. Let me move it over a little bit. Here, actually, can I just make this like absolutely bigger? English. What do I do? What do I do? Is that, did I click the right one? Wait, please enter settings to set subtitles to Japanese speakers only. Wait, what? Oh, I did the wrong one. Japanese speakers. What does that mean? What does Japanese speakers mean? Did I do it right? Uh-oh. Did I do it right? There we go. Let's go, baby.
So what did you think from your perspective as
Nuggies sound good right now.
To fix this problem? It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to involve creating a new game. It's going to involve keeping the other game still running. Did you think at that time that that was a solid investment, that's what Square Enix should be doing, or did you think that
Oh yeah, I gotta turn it up. Sorry, guys.
単純にそこだけ見るとね、すごくリスクの高い話、多分一般的には多分なるというふうに思う。
Yo, I'm ready for Yoshi P.
まあさすがに当社はね、ナンバリングタイトルでフラッグシップのタイトルで MMO、これだけのタイトルなわけですから、それがこのままサービスが頓挫してしまうというのは、これは非常に将来的にまずいと。これはやっぱり経営上これは非常に大きなダメージを与える。
Guys, I can only be so perfect.
再度作り直しを並行してやるということの投資に関しては、これはまあはっきり言ってやっぱりやるべきっていうか、まあやらざるを得ないというふうな判断でしたね。
I'm still learning. Leave me
つまり
alone.
財務的なリスクがものすごく大きかったですけどね。
Yo, no, you guys send me nuggies.
Hello and welcome back to our series on the fall and
Wendy's
rise of
Nuggies.
Final Fantasy XIV
Sweet and
Online.
sour.
We rejoin Yoshida-san and the team at Square Enix at the start of a long adventure, and with players leaving en masse and the clock ticking, it was time for them to formulate a plan. But how exactly do you rebuild an MMO while people are still playing it?
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yoshida-san
this.
set his eyes on a 2013 launch date for the new version of 14, as he wanted to have the game out for fans within the PlayStation 3's lifecycle. But to do this while still patching 1.0, he would have to create an entirely new MMO in less than half the time of most conservative estimates. So before we get into specifics of what exactly was changed, I wanted to know how he did it. So for a moment, we step away from game design and dive into a critically important aspect of video games development that we rarely talk about: project management.
Designing an MMO must...
Hi, Jamal.
I
How
just
are you?
imagine the timeline for something like this is at least 5 years for anything. And you're being asked to do it in less than half of that, probably. When you're designing games, when we talk to people, so much of it is iterative, that you create something and then you refine it and you brush it and then you look at it again. But you didn't have that luxury. You had to make sure that the version of A Realm Reborn that was coming out at that date was the final package. So did that change the way that you had to set up the team and the way your workflow kind of went?
MMORPG の開発に5年が普通だっていうのはもうちょっと強く言っといてください。まずそのスケジュールトラブルを起こさないためのそのマネジメントの工夫としては、なんだろうな、言い方がちょっと難しいんですけど、ものすごく腕のいい、特に100人に1人ぐらいしかいないようなプログラマーがたくさんやっぱりいるわけではないので、かつものすごい短い期間で大量のコンテンツやアセットを作らなければいけないので、人がたくさんどうしても並行作業が多くなるとかかってしまう。能力のこの差を
I didn't realize it
ある
took
意
5  years
味
to
高い
create
レベ
an
ルに合わせるんじゃなく
MMO.
て
That's actually insane.
低いレベルに合
What?
わせるというか、言い方が難しいな。 平均的なところに合わせるっていうそのマネージメントをすることでリスクをなくすってことをしました。この後ちょっともうちょっと詳しく話します。で、何をしたかというと、とにかく一つのタスク、例えばドラグーンというそのジョブを作るっていう時に、今言ったドラグーンっていうジョブを作るっていうタイトルって1タスクに見えるけど、そうじゃない。実際には何個のドラグーンにはアクションが必要で、そのアクション一つプログラミングするのに、どれだけかかるか。もちろんそのドラグーンの特定のアクションを作るために
They did it in a year and a
仕
half
様
to
書
do
も必要だ
this?
し、仕様書を作った後は
What?
実際にその仕様書に例えば2時間かかるなら、それを例えば僕に確認依頼が飛んで僕がチェックするのに例えば15分かかる。そのぐらい一つのタスクに見えるものを徹底的にもう細かく分解させるっていう、ちょっと究極のそのミニマムな管理方法を引いたので、スタッフは結構ストレスだっただろうなとは思います。で、そのさらにシングルタスクに対して最もこのタスクが自分で早く終わると予測される時間、この時間でこのタスクが完了したら自分を褒めてもいい。逆にこのタスクがこの時間以上かかってしまったら給料をもらう資格がないっていうぐらい、その最悪のケース。
Were they working without
その
pay?
ミニマムで終わる時間とマックスかかってもこれだけだろうっていう時間を両方申告させ
Yeah,
て、
Japanese work
その
culture.
平
Holy
均値で
shit.
基本的にはスケジュールを管理するっていう、本当に
What?
ミニマムマイクロマネージメント、マイクロすぎるぐらいのマイクロマネージメントをしてました。それを最初はウィークでみんなそのやり方に慣れてもらうために
He created a new
毎週
version around
1週間
skill level
で
of
その
program.
マネージメントを回して、で1
Oh,
週
okay, that
間経
makes
つと
sense.
結果が出るので、さらにそこに個人パラメ
Okay,
ータ
so you're just assessing their
例え
skill
ば
level and then
吉田は
putting them in
や
certain
たら
positions
と
that he
ミニ
thinks
マムをこう
would be best
短
for
い時
them.
間で申告するけど、結局タスクが終わってみるとマックスに寄りがちだなって
Dude,
なった場合は
actually micro-
50% で見積も
How
る
did
んじゃなくて、
he do all of this?
もうその係数をかけて、吉田はマックス側に寄るからきっと次の週のスプリントはもうちょっとマックス側に寄るだろうみたいなのをどんどんこうで個人特性までそうやって管理してたので1日の稼働時間は8時間ではありますけど、トイレに行ったりっていう時間も必要だし、あと必ずミーティングやその会議室でのミーティングじゃなかったとしてもスタッフと仕様の打ち合わせを絶対にそのデスクトゥデスクでフェイストゥフェイスでやることもあると思うので、1日の稼働は6時間で計算してましたね。その時は全員6時間、8時間では見ない。で大体慣れてきたらそれを
Did
2
he
週
work
間
out
スプリントに
literally
変え
every-
て、あとは毎朝必ずスタンドアップミー
He
ティングを
worked
し
out
て
every
それぞれ
fucking
の
minute
セクション
of the
で
day
自分
for
の
people?
タスクが今どうなってるのか、誰かのタスクが遅れてるせいで自分のタスクに取り掛かれないとかいうのは毎朝スタンドアップミーティングをして、ではこのタスクを入れ替えてこっちを先にやってくれないとこの人が止まってしまうからっていうのをもう全部毎朝やってましたね。だからスクラムっていうそのマネジメント手法のちょっと変形型ですね。ただ最後に言っときますけど、このマイクロマネジメント普通じゃないのでおすすめしないですよ。
Less than 2 years. Holy
2年
shit.
弱で
That's
MMORPG を
insane.
作る。逆に言うとスタッフにも2年かからず終わるから、このマネジメントだから今は我慢してって言ってやってもらったものなので、一般的には絶対おすすめしないです。細かすぎます。
I mean, anyone can
Dude's
come
a
in and
fucking
say, "Oh,
robot."
yeah, we're gonna rebuild the game. Follow
He's a
me."
robot.
But he came in with, this huge Excel that had all of these lists of everything on it. What we're gonna do here, what we're gonna do here. This is when we're gonna do them by, and this is what we're gonna do here. And to see that, it's like, okay, this isn't just a stopgap type of thing where a president's like, okay, crazy here, let's just change the leader and hopefully things will, get better. It was an actual, okay, this guy really wants to do this. He has this plan.
Yoshida had them running like a well-oiled machine, so it was time to get to work. First things first, they had to start the rollout of patches for 1.0, but a critical part of the failure of the first game was the poor communications the development team had with their community. So to keep diehard fans on board during this protracted period of redevelopment, they had to be a lot more transparent.
Don't work out
explain to players
fucking
very first
shitty communication.
It was failure. Failure. So we need to restart the game. But we at that timing we didn't announce.
I know, Koji's awesome.
When Reborn is not announced, but we are going to fix this game. We need more communication. So just list all the changes, plan changes. So some, upper management people doesn't like this because if you show this to the players, player knows what we will do. So, after that, you did this, but you didn't do this, you didn't this. Everyone can check that. So, some people doesn't really like that way. But when Yoshida-san and myself are discussing how we deal with the community, but what we need to do is to establish the trust.
確かに、今の14のそのユーザーベースから見れば当時のユーザーベースはものすごい小さかったと思う、今と比較すれば。ただ、メディアの皆さんからもそのプレイヤーからもそのファイナルファンタジー14はもうダメだ、むしろなんであんなダメなゲーム遊んでるの君たちどうかしてるんじゃないのって言われながらも、いやファイナルファンタジーシリーズだから絶対何とかしてくれるはずだ、いやこれはこれで僕らは楽しんでるからほっといてくれ。
Wow.
その11だって最初の頃はいろいろあったけどきっと良くなるはずって言って、数はもちろん今と比較したらすごく小さいそのコミュニティだったかもしれないけど、誰よりもスクエアエニックスやファイナルファンタジーのことを応援してくれている人たちだったので、この人たちを無視するんだと多分この先もうファイナルファンタジーはダメだろうと思ってたので、むしろ何よりも大切にしなきゃいけない部分だったっていうのが最も大きい理由。それは何億円使おうが回収できない後でコストだと思うので、信頼ってそういうことなのかなっていうふうに会社にもプレゼンテーションしましたし、僕もそう思ってたから続け。
That is a lot of trust.
あともう一つやっぱり大きなポイントは、本当にファイナルファンタジー14がリバンプしてその大逆転するためには絶対に彼らの力が必要だっていうことももう一つ重要な意味を持っていると考えてました。
Next, Yoshida split his team in half, some working on the new version of 14 and others working on the updates to 1.0, what he called the guts version of the game. But with so much of the game requiring fixing, where do you even start?
まず一番最初にやらなきゃいけないと思ったのはインターフェースをとにかくなんて言うんだろうな、最低限遊べるように正直本当申し訳ない話なんですけど、僕最初にやっぱりオリジナルの14触った時にインターフェースあまりにもなんだろうひどすぎて話にならない。だって PC バージョンしか出てないのにゲームパッドがないとまともに遊べない。聞いたことがないそんな PC ゲーム、マウスキーボードでまともに遊べないゲームなんか見たことがなかったので、いくらそのコンテンツを作ろうがジョブを作ろうがインターフェースがダメだったらコンテンツの面白さに到達する前に人はゲームをやめてしまうので、とにかくインターフェースを直さないとゲームにならないっていうふうに考えたので、一番最初にすごい丁寧に
I don't think the interface is really that bad. I don't think the UI for Final Fantasy is that bad. But yeah, there's add-ons for it
やめちゃいましたもん。
that can change the appearance.
笑い話でクイットの仕
Right?
方
I'm
が
pretty
分から
sure
なくて
you can like move them around too, just like World
右
of
上にある
Warcraft.
×ボタンを押そうとしたんですよ。で押したらこのままゲームを終了すると
Oh, it's against TOS.
データがセーブされない可能性があります。それでもよろしいですかってダイアログが出るのね。いやいやよくないでしょって。いや僕はエンジニアだからサーバーに常に書き込んでるからそんなわけないじゃんって思ってるんですけど、万が一のことがあるから多分出てるんですよそのダイアログ。でも意味がわからない。そうなるともう怖くて押せないですよね。なんだこれ でノーって押すとまたゲームにいるわけでしょ。 X 押すとダイアログでしょ。どうやってクイットするんだよこのゲーム。
Interface isn't sexy, it's not something you tend to hear a lot about in video games coverage, because really, when it's done correctly, you're not supposed to notice it. So when the early patches for the game concentrated on interface and quality of life updates, much of the community began to get frustrated. The team needed to fix it quickly, so Yoshida employed the help of a Square veteran, one of the developers, on that original 1.0 task force.
Who is this?
皆川博士と
Wait,
申
I've
し
heard
ま
of this
す。
person.
ファイナルファンタジー14ではユーザーインターフェースの、設計デザインとあとアート的なビジュアルの方も担当しています。
Wow.
よろしくお願いします。今
Dude,
47 歳
this guy does
なん
a
ですけど
lot.
も
This is a lot on his
25
plate.
の時に入社したのでもう22年経ちますね。当時はまだスクエアエニックスがスクエアという会社だったので、ですね、
Wait,
ファイナル
their
ファンタ
company was
ジー
just
タクティク
originally
ス
called
の、
Square?
アートディレクターを担当してました。
Whoa! Those
な
are
の
old
で普段
games.
は少ない情報、なるべく少ない情報やシンプルな表示を心がけているんですけれども、今回はカスタマイズ性というかよりツール的な考え方でいろんなプレイヤーがそれぞれ自分の好きなカスタマイズができるようにっていうことを普段よりも強く意識してます。
Oh, you're piecing out skilled legend.
やはりバトル
Also, Kay, we were
が
watching a
テンポ
Final Fantasy
スピーディーなテンポの
documentary.
ゲームなので、カーソルフォーカスを十字キーで動かしながら決定するっていう、そういう操作性ではちょっとゲームにならないだろうというところがあったので、かなり最初の頃にクロスホットバーというアクションを選択するインターフェースを考えたんですけれども、ただこのインターフェース自体は割と昔から他のゲームで自分自身作ったり使ったりしていたものだったので、絶対それでいけるだろうなという思いはありました。なので実はそこはあまり苦労していなかったりします。例えば表現方法が変わると必ず僕はこっちの方が良かったっていう話は来るんですね。例えばインベントリーは以前はテキストで表示されていたんですけれども、アイコンになると当然なんか似ていてよくわからないとか、なので両方欲しいっていう話は受けて、両方作るのは大変なんだよなっていうそういうところがありました。今でも ARR のリリースから積み残しの仕事リストみたいなのがあるんですけれども、2年以上経って今入るみたいな機能もたまにあったりします。
でもう一つはバトルシステムをとにかく変更しないとコンテンツが作れない。つまりあまり良くないバトルシステムをベースにして、コンテンツを作ったとしてもコンテンツが面白くならない。だから順番としてはインターフェースを修正しながらバトルシステムを変更してやっとその先にコンテンツを作るっていうのが、順番として僕はまっとうだと思った。当時のバトルシステムも当時は15人でパーティーが組めてあって、しかもマジックポイント MP の管理っていうものがほぼなかったので、当時のファイナルファンタジー14の中で最強の回復魔法だったケアルガーっていうスペルをずっと連打してても MP がゼロにならない。延々ケアルガーして OK で、他の魔法いらないよね。じゃあとにかく当時は15人で一つのモンスターを殴りまくって回復しまくってっていうすごい大雑把なゲームだったので、これを戦略的なバトルシステム計算式に変えていかないとコンテンツが面白くならない。だから UI を直しながらバトルシステムを変更して、でそれらの準備をしながら最も重要だと思ってたのはファイナルファンタジーエレメントっていうものをとにかく入れていくことっていうのが次のというか最も大きな課題だっていうふうに思ってました。なぜなら当時ジョブもなかった、ナイトもいない、ブラックメイジもいない、ホワイトメイジもいない。これはファイナルファンタジーなのか。
There's a white mage?
チョコボに乗れるわけでもないし、イフリートは出てきてるけど戦えないし、一体何なんだこのゲーム。だから僕らがコンテンツとして 入れていかなきゃいけなかったのはやっぱりイフリートやそのガルーダ
You don't
いわ
go
ゆる召
if
喚
you're
獣
a
って
paladin
一
in
般
WoW.
的に
That's
呼ばれ
it.
てるものとのボスバトルを入れていかなきゃいけないと思
I
った
haven't
し
played healer in a
チ
minute,
ョコボ
but
に
the
乗れない
last
な
time
ん
I
て
did, I was
MMO なのに
fucking
話にならない
dry.
からチョコボにちゃんと乗れるようにしなきゃいけないし
Begging for
何より
mana.
ジョブがないのも FF じゃない少なくとも僕は FF だと思わないのでだったらジョブをちゃんと入れていこうっていうところがでもそれもやっぱりさっき言ったようにインターフェースとバトルシステムが治ってなければいいものにはならないので
Oh yeah, and arcane
まあだから
mage. You're
回収をやりながら
right,
きちんと仕様を作ってそれを
You
一つ
know
ず
your
つ
WoW
クリアしていくっていうのを中盤以降は続けてそこからやっぱりグッドゲームの評判はやっぱり Q14 も良くなっていってプレイヤーもずっと増え続けていったので少しずつですけどあれは僕らもすごい励まされましたねやっぱりちゃんと面白いものを作っていけばみんなプレイをしてくれるっていうのも数字の上からもよく見えたので
That's honestly
当時の
awesome.
7つ一気にリリースされた7つのジョブパッチナンバーは忘れちゃったけど7つのジョブがいっぺんに実装されたんですけどたった一人のゲームデザイナーが作ったんで
What?
The
One
team had their
single
sights
game
set on what
designer
needed to be
doing
changed
7
and how they were going to
jobs?
do it. For the first time in years, they were
Who?
feeling hopeful, and even better, players were finally starting to respond with positivity.
What?
But right as they were settling into this new reality and finding their rhythm, disaster struck. For 6 minutes, Japan shook. A 9.0 earthquake had struck 200 miles northeast of Tokyo, and a resulting tsunami devastated coastal regions. What followed was a humanitarian and infrastructural disaster that can be barely comprehended. While the country rallied to help those affected, Tokyo suffered aftershocks and frequent electrical blackouts. I asked Yoshida-san if he'd like to share how this had affected the team.
まあ東京もそうは言ってもすごい揺れたので
Oh my gosh.
やっぱりまあ当日はね会社に泊まった方が安全だって言って帰らないでずっとニュースを見てるっていう人たちもいたしやっぱり東北に家族とかね親戚とかいるスタッフも当然いたのでまあもう正直言うともう開発どころではなかったのは確かにそうですねで開発なんか優先すべきじゃないと思うのでやっぱりみんな開発者の前に人なので
Wow.
まあ日本中電力が足りなくなっていたのでまあ本当に些細なのかもしれないけどサーバーを全部落とそうまあ少しでも協力できることがあればっていうことでプレイヤーの皆さんにも申し訳ないんですけどサーバーを一定期間止めますっていう話をして
Wow. What the fuck?
そんな時期でしたねただサーバーの稼働を再開してからプレイヤーの方から
Of course, a
まあ
few
お手紙をい
letters
ただい
would
た
come
り
in.
したんですけどエオルゼアの中で遠くにいる友達の
Oh,
無事が
what?
確認できたエオルゼアがあったから電話も通じない連絡の手段がなかったところエオルゼアの中にログインしてきてくれたことで無事だったっていうのが分かった逆にその周りの人たちの
Wow,
情報
that
っていう
is
のも
so
分かったっていう
heartfelt.
お話をいくつかいただいてまあ電力が足りなければね当然そのサーバーなんて落とせばいいかなと思うんですけどそうじゃない限りは続けるっていうこともエオルゼア
Wow.
を維持しておくっていうことも一つのなんかサポートなのかなって思った機会でもありましたねその時はだから続けてくれてありがとうって言われたんですよファイナルファンタジー14は開発であとは最も大きかったのは実はイフリートの次に戦うボスはリヴァイアさんの予定でリヴァイアさんをかなりの速度で作ってたんですけどとてもじゃないけどリリースなんかできないっていう話でだからイフリートの後モーグリが実装されているのはそれが理由ですね急いでモーグリを作り直したというか企画し直したのでいやそんなことはなかったですよみんなやっぱりそれぞれの
I've seen that boss fight a couple of times too.
時期会社に来れない 人たちもまあ何日か会社も休みにしてるんで、ただどっちかっていうとその
Wow.
自分た
That
ち
is amazing.
にできることをやろうっていうみん
Am I
な
going
感じ
to
だった
adventure in Final Fantasy XIV?
そう
Yes.
じゃあ
I
全
made a
員で
character last
福島
week.
に行って何か僕らが活
I'm
動する
on
こ
a
とって
primal.
意味があるの
Land me a
か、
primal.
あれだけたくさんの人たちが押しかけてる中でだったら僕らはそのなんだろう、彼らが落ち着いた時にゲームを楽しく遊べるように、僕らは結局ゲーム作るしか脳がないので、まあ、ゲームを作り続けるのが結局何よりなのかもっていう、こういう話はしなかったですけど、みんなそういう感じで復帰してきてましたよ、仕事に。
Wow. That's insane. That is very scary. Dude.
Over the coming months, the team would release patch after patch for 1.0. 1.17 introduced 8-player
That is so
parties and more
heartfelt.
stable
Holy shit.
network infrastructure. 1.18 dropped in June 2011 and was a huge patch that made the game much more playable. Level caps lowered for story quests. It added grand companies, class adjustments, instance dungeons, and auto attack. Yes, would you believe this game still didn't have auto attack? It featured a more user-friendly map interface and also scrapped the controversial fatigue system.
And so we need to take this concept that Yoshida-san has created, make it fit with the current world, write stories around it, make the transition seem seamless, and then in the new world, make it so that there's still some connection with that old world that will be understood by those
So
core
you guys
players,
were playing during
but
this?
won't alienate new players. It won't be something like, oh,
Wow,
you
you
didn't play
guys
that
actually
old,
thought that they
you know,
weren't
that
gonna
stuff
come
in
back?
1.0, so you're going to be completely lost, because we don't want to do that either.
What?
We want to get
That
new
is
players
such
to
an
come that didn't
amazing
play the original one.
story.
And we don't
Like,
want to have
honestly.
them have to play the original to understand this one.
Like, how
and so
amazing is that
trying
you
to
were
work the
actually a
story
part
that
of
way
it
was,
from
it
the
was
beginning
challenging, but
when
it was
they
a lot of fun.
actually weren't
we got to try a lot of things.
surviving,
we had a lot of freedom,
and it wasn't really
especially
good?
on the 1.x
Till
stuff,
now,
because
they're literally thriving.
in a sense, it would only be released,
Wow.
seen for a few months, and then it would be gone forever.
It's just crazy that you guys
And
actually
so-
saw it in real time.
On one hand, that's really
And you
exciting
were playing
because
the
we can
game.
do whatever we want. We can create these crazy stories, have these crazy characters, all of these crazy in all these crazy situations, and go, you know, balls to the wall. But on the other hand, we're working day and night on something that only a few thousand people are going to see and will be gone in 6 months. I really think, I mean, I look back at it now, I think we did a lot of our best work during that one point. And it's sad that no one is ever going to see that. Maybe, you know, there's some videos up on YouTube where people can still go back and check them out. But a lot of, you know, some of the best stories, some of the
Wow.
most crazy stuff went on during that 1.x period because it was pretty much no holds barred. Anything can happen. We had like crazy cults, and you had like, you know, people from the Garlean Empire. There was like propaganda, giant dragons and machines, and it was just anything goes in a type of situation there, and it was just really a lot of fun.
1.19 signified the 1-year
I know,
anniversary.
Trix, this is the
Players
new
finally
Phasma
got personal
update.
chocobos,
So
and in the
good.
distance, one light in the night sky burnt slightly brighter, a sign of things to come.
At the very first time, it was just some rumor between players. Oh, is it getting bigger? No, I don't think so.
This was also when Square Enix announced that an
What?
entirely new version of the
This-
game had been in development since
Dude, these people
January,
have a
and that
huge
current players
brain.
would receive copies of it for free. They also announced that players' character
Literally-
data and progress would be transferred
This-
to this new version,
Was
what they were
that
then calling version
Yoshi?
2.0.
Was that Yoshi
A
that
roadmap
did
for
that?
patches was outlined, and it was announced that monthly fees would be reinstated as of January
actually a fucking
2012.
god.
As an incentive for players to keep playing while the fees were introduced, they announced Legacy Campaign, which rewarded players who paid for at least
Pay
3
for it.
months of service with
Wow.
permanently reduced monthly fees. Those players would also get an exclusive
Banana
Chocobo
Mental
mount,
Clues
while
just
as a thank you for their
subscribed.
support during
Thank
the
you,
redevelopment,
Banana.
their
Mwah.
names would be featured
Thank
in the
you.
credits of the new
You're so
game.
nice.
で2011年10月14
Oh,
日
Realm
に
Reborn.
そのレルムリボーンっていう14を全く新しいゲームとして作り直してますっていう発表を同時にすることでどうなこのままアップデートしていくんじゃないの、一体どうなるのこの先。楽しかったですよ。
Wow.
1.2 was the final patch of 2011.
So they
It
were
saw
doing
all the
two
servers
games? They were
renamed,
doing both
while the
games?
Moondalamud now seemed larger in the sky. 1.21 came in March 2012, introducing a new job system and 2 new dungeons. 1.22 followed in April, Dalamud grew closer, and now some players are beginning to have nightmares. Ominous dreams greet players who log into the game while at an inn. The community all the while trying to figure this out. Is the moon going to destroy the world? Then how will player data be saved in 2.0? They wouldn't have to wait long for answers. That summer, a trailer revealed that 2.0 would be titled A Realm Reborn, and Yoshida-san conducted numerous interviews explaining the future of the game and the features players can expect. On September 12, 2012, the final patch for 1.0 was released. The game updates to 1.23b, and with it comes an enormous Dalamud, its mechanical outer shell now in full view. Players now realizing that this world didn't have long left. On November 1st, 2012, a final in-game battle began. Square Enix made entry free for the final week of the game, while a haunting song can be heard playing on the wind across the entire realm. While the server struggled to deal with the load, players got together with their friends one last time, as the development team in Japan spammed enemies outside capital cities. One group of players outside of Golda has become legendary, attempting to protect the city with what we now call the Great Gobu Wall.
That's what you heard?
Right before
That's so
download
creepy.
hit Elzir, we had to do some chaotic situation to the existing world. So what we decided to do is to spawn the strong enemies at the near the main cities.
The
Even
game
when
ended?
I popped the very strong, Manticore or the mobile or
I
the
didn't realize
giant
that's
monsters,
when the game ended.
players kill instantly.
Right.
Yeah, instantly. Yeah, just snap. So, oh Jesus. So you killed
all
my
coming
monster
full
again.
circle.
So what we can do
That's
is just
insane.
keep spawning the lots of monsters, and then in very late night when I was doing, keep spawning the monsters. The one programmer just, I've never talked to him before, but just coming down to my desk and then just give me a bit of paper with some numbers, which numbers I can understand. This is the number of the certain monster.
Okay.
I can type in.
At
so
the
that,
end of the weeks,
I can,
devs were
then I
real-time
can spawn a
spawning
very
boss
new,
mobs for players to
stronger
fight.
monsters. Oh,
That
okay,
is
thank you very
so
much.
cool,
So
dude.
that was a very fun moment.
You're like
Why is
playing
it
God.
Blizzard needs to take
At
notes?
first
This is
I felt
insane.
like God. Hey players, can you beat my monsters? But no. I was very weak God.
They were God.
Yeah,
Wow.
they were God.
So it was then, on Sunday, November 11th, 2012, just over a year after Final Fantasy XIV was originally
This is
launched,
what we saw.
with Dalamud hanging in the sky, that the servers were finally turned off. And as they did, a trailer dropped, showing players what was to become of their old home.
Oh my. That scene is so sad. They wrote it into the lore of the game. That's insane.
Well, it's pretty simple. You had something that not a lot of people liked, and everyone wanted to forget about it. So rather than, just taking that and doing it over,
No one
and
expected
just
it?
reimagining it, why not destroy that and start over? If we leave too much of that original core there, then it will just linger on as that kind of cancer that, will always bring us
what's up,
back to that
Noffer?
failure. Why not just clean the slate? But on the other hand, and this is where, things kind of got complicated, is that, no matter how bad the reviews were and how many people bought the game but then left the game, there was still this core of players in both Japan and, Europe, North America, that were passionate about the game. In the state that it was, they were passionate about the
Wow.
game. They were passionate about the series and their characters that they had created and were now living in this MMO. And so, it would have been easy to just say, okay, bye guys, But if you do that, then you've basically alienated the only group that stuck with you, for all of those years, when everyone else is slamming the game and talking about how bad it is. Those guys were troopers. They would go on the forums. They were defending, the development team when a lot of times we didn't deserve defending. So that idea
Wow.
to wipe the slate clean, but not make it something completely new, make it something that was connected in some way to that, to the old game. The decision made by Yoshida-san to, okay, let's, bring down.
Yoshi is
down
a genius.
Destroy the planet, destroy the realm, but then bring it back.
Wow. He
Figuring out
literally
a way
saved.
to make that happen.
He destroyed a
within
game
the
and
current
saved a
story.
game, all to save a
Make it
fucking
feel
game.
natural. Make it feel like that was always the plan. Was
This
the
guy.
biggest challenge, I think.
Yoshi
The team at
P
Square
has
Enix
the
have worked
biggest brain
themselves to the
ever.
bone, not only recreating Final Fantasy XIV in A Realm Reborn, but also by dedicating time and money to ensuring that 1.0 players felt part of that story. The moon, Dalamu, had
God.
crashed into the world of Eorzea. That world was gone forever. And only one question remained. What was going to rise out of its ashes?